Perfect. Hey, welcome everybody. Casey Armstrong over here. This is episode 7 of our Operator series. I'm very excited with the guests that we have today. We had an awesome episode last week. Tons of engagement and questions from you all. Hope we get that again this week. To start off, if everybody, I don't know which direction we've got the chat box, but if you guys want to drop in where you're calling in from or dialing in from, I'm over here in Orange County, California. I know we've got everybody else is pretty much on the East Coast over here. We've got Kurt who's out in Chicago, but drop in your locations over here. We've got DC. Nick Cotter over on our team. He's coming in from Cape Cod, so he might be trying to one up all of us. We got Boston. All right. So we've got to jump into the guests. We've got Mike Peters here. He's the one sporting the white shirt. I was expecting the Tom Brady or maybe a Gronk jersey. He's VP of Ops over at TB12. They provide apparel, supplements, workout gear from Tom Brady. He's obviously kept us a little entertained, us sports-starved people like myself looking for anything as he takes his talents down to Tampa. Here we go. I see Dustin from South Florida. We've got Cheryl from Tampa. So we probably have some really happy people here on the TB12 side. We also have Kurt Elster. He's an advisor and operator at Hoonigan, Lino's Garage, Key Smart. He's the founder of Aethercycle. He's also the founder and host of the Unofficial Shopify podcast. He also had a nice screenshot in Shopify earnings reports, which came out earlier today as well. So I guess we've got a celebrity in our hands. And then last but not least, we have Nick Sharma, who's the founder of Sharma Brands. Invests and advises and operates some of the leading D2C brands. People we've all heard of: Chacha Matcha, who's a ShipBob customer; Judy, who I'm very excited to dig into the stuff that you guys did there. Talk about being prescient and ahead of the times.
Proper Wild's another ShipBob customer.
Awesome. House Hydrant, and plenty more. Who's on the Forbes 30 under 30 last year. So again, great list today. In either the chat or the questions, please start dropping stuff in. But to get things kicked off, Mike, question for you first. You moving from Boston to Tampa?
Not in the plans as yet. Both of our sports performance recovery centers are in the Boston area, so still headquartered here, and making moves with the Tampa market, but no move in place yet.
Okay.
Casey had that ready for, 2 weeks now, Casey?
Wait, you're trolling me already? We're like 2 minutes into this. So obviously I know you and I spoke before he made the announcement. I don't know if anybody knew. I know you kept your lips closed and you were also probably trying to figure out what, Tom Brady was going to decide anyways. Since then, again, that's really brought, I'd say, a good distraction for us during these times. And you guys have gotten, a huge influx of earned media. So tell us a little bit about that, how you guys have juggled that, what that looked like for the TB12 brand.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a process that, Tom, played out in his way, thinking about, football, his family. And so kind of a natural progress for an NFL free agent, I suppose. And so we worked pretty closely with him, tried to, develop a bunch of plans based on the options as they were kind of coming into full view. And then obviously like the decision happened right around the time that a lot of the country was starting to go into lockdown. And so a lot of eyes, a lot of people just looking for something sports related to talk about and think about. So we were very fortunate to have that earned media, as you said, and also have a product base that kind of resonates with at-home fitness and nutrition and supplementation. That's gone pretty well.
Awesome. Well, I want to circle back to the at-home fitness stuff in a minute. But Nick, we'll jump over to you. So as I mentioned briefly, Judy, if you wanted to share with the audience a little bit of, what Judy provides when you guys launched and how that's gone.
Yeah, Judy is essentially a brand that tries to educate and really personify preparedness for consumers around the world. And so the first line of products that we have is the Judy kits, the preparedness kits. So they are kits. They come, the flagship is called the Safe. It comes with 6 modules: food, warmth, safety, first aid, tools, water, and I always forget what the last one was. That wasn't 6. But essentially, the goal is that any emergency, whether it's an earthquake where you're trapped for 72 hours, which is the average time people get trapped before they get found by emergency services. So if it's an earthquake, or if it's you scraped your knee trying to learn how to skateboard, like Judy's got you covered, and that's the whole goal. And so yeah, we launched on February 28th, I want to say. It came in super handy for COVID, which was great, but also very scary. We didn't predict it, and so we had a lot of things that we learned very quickly in the first month. And so, but anyways, now we're selling preparedness kits. We have digital products that are also coming out soon. We have different variations of the kits that are coming out soon. Monday, we launched the Tiger King edition of the Safe. And that's essentially this, it's a marketing campaign. Yeah, it's the whole thought that there's so much going on that you need to be prepared for from an emergency standpoint and safety standpoint. Yet the entire country is talking about Tiger King. So we put tiger stripes on the case, and I'm putting the link in the chat. It's judy.co/tiger. But we put tiger stripes on. We had Joe Exotic's ex-husband do an ad campaign with us. So he did the voiceover. It's the same kit. It's got tiger decals on it. And the whole idea was, can we take what's top of mind for everybody else and bring it to preparedness?
So I love that you're really jumping on something that's, again, providing humor for a product that people do need, and really capitalizing on zeitgeist and what's popular at the time. So with an example with Joe's Exotic's ex-husband or whoever that was, did you guys go directly to him? Did you guys utilize Cameo? How did you guys go about that? And then Kurt, after he answers, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, it was all direct. Yeah, I don't know if he's on Cameo, although that would be a sweet gig for him now. I imagine for any of these Netflix extras, going on Cameo is a sweet way to earn a couple grand a day.
Yeah. And Kurt, what would you have for Nick?
Sure. So I love everything that you've done here, and even this, I see this "Don't Be Left in the Dark" pop-up is the coolest thing. Yeah, the landing page, the design, everything about this screams awesome cool DTC brand.
Yeah,
so I like it. My question for you is: you use, obviously, to market this thing, there's at least some level of humor, and I've seen some e-commerce merchants I think are afraid to crack a joke right now. They don't know what is and isn't appropriate. So how do you approach humor? In light of The Bad Thing. I hate even talking about it. Let's call it The Bad Thing, trademark.
Yeah. I would say, I think a couple things. One, our whole goal is not we're anti fear. And so that's the first thing in our brand book, is that we're not about fear. We're all about trying to find ways to personify preparedness in a way that gets you thinking about it and talking about it amongst your family members and friends, and truly actually getting prepared. That said, we definitely did a proper pulse check of the market and our community itself. It seemed like at this point, people are kind of looking for more humor rather than just more news about COVID. We actually did, for the longest time, this series called Judy Good News, or Good Reads by Judy, where we would actually find good news around the internet and share it out on Instagram. But even that kind of content started to see a dip in engagement. I think people are just over brands talking about COVID, and they're ready for people to get back to being brands.
Yeah, I agree. And then here's a great question for Christina. Nick, have you seen the Judy kit sold all over the U.S.? versus just earthquake heavy locations? Like I'm in Southern California, so that's like a huge thing. Any surprising hot spots that you've seen?
Yeah, definitely, the areas that are most prone to, their own emergency. But I mean, we ship in all 50 states. We have shipped to all 50 states. We did open up in Puerto Rico and Canada. We're shipping there as well. Hotspots, we saw the coastal cities kind of be the first hotspots. I think that's with any direct consumer or e-commerce brand. But the whole idea is that if you're in Southern California, like you're most prone to earthquakes and wildfires, whereas if you're in New York, you might be more prone to flooding and terrorism. And so the whole idea is that these kits are designed to be able to accommodate for all these different types of emergencies. But definitely what we have seen is like, kind of coming up to that wave of a time period or a few months where an emergency becomes more relevant. Like right now we're going into hurricane season. Or maybe we're not. I might have gotten that completely wrong. I know we're definitely going into wildfire season. So we have seen like more inquiries come in specifically about those emergencies.
Awesome. I've got some more questions on that, but Kurt, I want to jump to you. So as the host of the unofficial Shopify pod,
by the way, is that titled the unofficial Shopify pod, or it's like known as the unofficial?
Literally, the full title is the unofficial Shopify podcast.
Yes, it is very smart.
That was a working title, and then once we had it, we didn't know what else to do, so we just kept it.
I like it. Those are often the best names. So we can give the Ship Bob name story later. Also, I always hear people always like, how'd they come up with that? Anyways, so again, you get a very you've been doing this for a while. You oversee and help a lot of brands succeed as well. I think because of your space in the industry, you also have a very unique vantage point across a large portfolio of D2C brands. So what have you seen work for your clients lately, and what has surprised you the most?
I think what has surprised me the most is how wildly differently it's affected people. I mean, it's so dependent on who your audience is and what you sell. So if you were in like a travel category, selling luggage, not a great time to be selling anything travel related. Like stuff like that got just hammered. But most brands, by the time we got through March, we're kind of back to business as usual as far as revenue numbers go. And then a really interesting thing happened. We had several clients in early April and late March launch products. I couldn't believe it. They went out, they launched products. The crazy part then was they did extraordinary numbers. I couldn't believe it. And then I had one client, an apparel lifestyle brand, do a 72-hour flash sale. They did more in that than they did on Black Friday. So I think like the overarching theme was, if you're selling and you're lucky enough to be in, categories that people are buying, and that those are expanding right now, like home goods. I probably spent more on home goods. I've spent more on home goods and groceries than anything else in the last, 10 weeks. But like, if you're in one of those categories that benefits, you're doing better than usual. And I think for a lot of brands, they're doing or a little better. And then you have probably maybe 1 in 4 categories, like worst case, got hurt by it. But many of those were able to pivot, sell something else, or reposition. And I've got, I can think of a few stories around that as well. But no, I think what has blown me away, my overarching from my 10,000 foot view, is the sheer number of brands that are doing okay or doing well at the moment. And it's because e-commerce is a lifeline.
I have a question on the new products. And before I get to that, I get to see who signed up and is in here. So I know we've got a lot of return attendees, many of you who are running some awesome brands. So I would love if you guys want to drop in the chat also ways that you've maybe pivoted your business or some products that you've launched. And on that, Kurt, are you seeing companies launch side brands or separate brands that focus on this new business, or are you seeing them pivoting and launching different products under the same brand? What are you seeing that's most common?
Everything I've seen is say new product for an existing brand.
Okay.
And I think I've not I haven't seen anyone launch an entirely new brand, and I have a project I'm working on now where the client team and the client saying, "Hey, do we launch now or do we wait?" And my answer to this, I don't know what the right answer is. I really don't. When it's a brand new brand, but I lean toward, hey, if you don't launch, you guarantee zero sales. So probably let's go with launch. And if it's like a complete disaster, we'll relaunch again later. Like if nobody saw us launch the first time, we could do it again.
Exactly. Call something new. And the reason I ask is because we've seen kind of a mix of both, where we're seeing at ShipBob, existing brands will come to us with brand new brands that they're rolling out. Some of our own existing customers will come to us with their new version. And then like an example is Piper Y, who was talking, I think it was 2 episodes ago. They'd actually been working on a hand sanitizer product for a while. For a handful of reasons, they didn't launch it. And then they were able to spin it up quickly through their supply chain and launch it just in a couple of weeks, which went pretty well. So, Mike, I want to get back to you. The home fitness space has been fascinating for me. I know that I may have spent a little bit of money in that space. My wife keeps doing the same. As we take care of our homes so much more, I'd say, than before, and home fitness is such a top priority. Talk us through that. What's been interesting in the surges you've seen and how you guys have positioned TB12?
Yeah, so we've had the products essentially that we have had for a while, and had really kind of moved the target all over the place a little bit. Obviously, like high-end sports performance, a portability, kind of an on-the-go type concept. We have a lot of like brand imagery in outdoors at a field or a track or something. Just kind of like brings that vitality to the brand. And then recently, fortuitously, we started doing early in the year, like January, a little bit more like in-home brand messaging, because we have a somewhat innovative anchor system that doesn't require you to actually like drill holes into a stud in order to anchor something to work out off of. You can actually wrap it around a standard size door. So we started targeting that, and then kind of just right at the right time, folks started looking for in-home solutions. Our resistance band kits, to do a great resistance band workout, you probably need 25 square feet of space, very much. And you can pack it up and put it in a drawstring bag when you're done, and put it under your bed or in the closet, and it doesn't kind of live in your space all the time. So it's obviously been helpful. Just have folks to be able to provide folks an outlet. We obviously believe in like the mental health aspects of getting a workout in. And there's obviously a lot of challenges around kind of people changing their lives so much from what they had known. That to be able to provide a product that really helps people, I think, in a few different ways, has been great. And then, as we kind of sold through at a much higher rate than we had previously, we started to think about ways to reorganize the product, and really start to target. So we actually launched what we called now the at-home loop resistance band kit at the end of March. And I've just seen. So we actually had it was called the basic. Kind of got you like, and then it was called the starter loop band kit. Kind of got you started. So we had like a leveled concept. And as we started to attract new customers, and with really like I think new goals, like less of the kind of high-end athletic performance and more on the I want to get a decent workout in my kind of smaller at-home space. We started to see more people kind of in the kind of like lighter medium resistance, and so we packaged that up into an at-home kit that allowed people to to use 25 square feet of space and a door and get really 90% of the workout that Tom and Gronk and those guys do most days.
Awesome. And I have some supply chain questions for you, but Nick, to jump back over to you with let's say with Judy, which is such a high demand product, or maybe some examples from other brands that you're working with. What did that look like from the supplier side? Because I know that hospitals and a lot of frontline workers are demanding a lot of the same products, and you see what Flexport and others are doing. And before a lot of these products even really touch the U.S., they're routing them to the hospital. So if you could just talk through a little bit of that, how you've been able to navigate that.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely had, I wouldn't say an issue, but there was the reroute of a lot of that critical equipment. So we were lucky in the sense that we had a solid amount of inventory. Maybe a little too much, we thought, when we were actually starting, but it ended up working out just fine, thankfully. After we started to look for things like masks and gloves, we found a supplier that was able to supply us with masks, and then we actually went ahead and donated, I think, a total of 75,000 masks.
Wow.
And then, after we realized that, like, it's not what's the word? Like, they have enough masks now. Then we've started taking them back and incorporating them into our kits. But yeah, I mean, Judy is also a product where, we're sourcing a ton of different stuff. We're also making a lot of it too. So it's quite a complicated supply chain.
Are you sourcing primarily in the U.S. now, and before? What did that mix look like?
To be honest, I don't know completely. But I don't think they would be happy with me saying, even if I did.
And then, I might answer Gerald's question. So Gerald said, can you provide?
Yeah, Gerald, honestly, I don't know. If I knew, I would definitely tell you for the masks, but I just don't know. There is honestly probably people in this who are watching this live that have connections to either drop shippers or suppliers that sell masks.
And what's been interesting too, what one of our guests said the other day is he was actually able to start tapping some of his competitors as well to find specific items within the supply chain to help manufacture different parts of, like, the masks or other PPE equipment as well.
Yeah.
And then Kurt, if we're going to jump into the weeds on maybe specific tactics or items that have helped, and if you want to put specific brands, please go for it. But what have you seen work and really help get these brands to these Black Friday, Cyber Monday levels?
Sure. So, I mean, it's a confluence of factors. Number one, there has never been a better time to spend money on PPC ads. Across the board, depending on what you're targeting, it is around 15 to 22% lower than January, February levels for PPC ads. So that, like, your PPC ad budget is going to go at least 20% further than it used to. That helps a lot. Engagement is higher than ever because you have more eyeballs on social media. So just being out there and connecting with people works, and you can iterate through ads very quickly now. But when we did that 72-hour flash sale example I said earlier, that was at the end of March, that was because we didn't know, are they still going to be able to fulfill and sell orders? So we said, we got to turn this inventory into cash. And when we used our standard Facebook ads funnel setup, where it's like cold traffic, warm traffic, hot traffic, a lot of retargeting. The retargeting ads were doing 50x or better return on ad spend. It's just wild. You'd never see stuff like that in the last several years because Facebook ads got so saturated. So number one, just the not being afraid of going with the usual playbook of PPC ads and sales funnels seems to work well. People are doing retail therapy. So if you're in a category where it's like, all right, I could feel good about myself, and you can think about it literally through the lens of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where if your product in some way makes a person feel safe, if it makes if it somehow soothes their ego, if it improves their environment, all of those those things that tick off levels on Maslow's hierarchy of needs do really well. And sometimes it could be repositioning a product as such. As an example of doing that I absolutely love, KeySmart. This is a local Chicago brand. KeySmart, they sell a key organizer. And one of the accessories they sold for this key organizer was a stylus. and the owner's dad was immunocompromised. He said, "Oh, that stylus, I use it so I don't have to touch anything. I poke elevator buttons and the ATM machine, point of sale terminal." So they thought, well, that's interesting, and they took photos of that, and they just ran ads like that, and immediately the sales of this thing exploded. They sold out of it within a few days. It was tremendous. But that was a product they had and sold, was like mediocre at the time. And then as soon as they changed the positioning to, hey, this helps keep you safe, this is a practical PPE item, whoa, suddenly sales explode. So I would say, like, look for those opportunities. Or, we just got a lot of people who transitioned to like, we're going to make masks now. And they just can't keep it in stock.
I think when Nick said, is that the Peel tool?
Very similar. No, the stylus isn't. So on Kickstarter, there was the hygiene hand, and then there are a whole series of just like complete knockoffs of that.
Gotcha.
Like KeySmart's Clean Key, they launched that later. That's doing crazy numbers. The Peel version, seen lots of those. They're going to be everywhere. They're on AliExpress for like $1 each now.
Yeah, not the branding play, but it's been fascinating to see those where somebody gets a little bit of traction, then it blows up everywhere.
Seriously,
just the time, and it's specific, like that Clean Key. It's literally like if you have access to a CNC or a FlowJet machine and a brass plate, you cut those things all day. So that it's just a really easy thing to design and manufacture.
Here we have another operations question. This one comes from Colin, and I don't know, Mike, maybe you're best to answer this. So, our company's in the process of choosing a fulfillment company for our e-commerce sales. What are the main aspects we should consider when choosing a partner?
It's a good question. I think it really just, like a lot of things, is like what is the goal of your kind of e-commerce fulfillment operation? There are a few that come to mind. Like, could be you want to maintain your brand's super premium feel with a lot of customization, with kind of high touch type, literature, marketing, those kind of things. So that could be a goal. Or your goal could be we're in a competitive set where we want to get our products into the hands of the ultimate consumer as quickly and as inexpensively as possible. And a lot of times those things kind of like, they can potentially conflict, or potentially you can find a partner that can do all of it. So I think that's when we set out 2 years ago looking for a fulfillment partner, we kind of looked at it through both lenses. Obviously, there's kind of a premium aspect to our brand. We certainly want to maintain that with like a high quality unboxing experience, et cetera. And then we also play in a space where, for particularly our consumables, Amazon does a lot of competitor, or serves a lot of our competitors, apparel as well, where we want to be fast, and we have to kind of maintain it within our kind of target that we're looking at for as a fulfillment as a percentage of sales, really.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. And then kind of related, maybe I'll take this one from Thomas over in the question section. We're in the beverage industry, starting 20% e-com, 80% B2B through, I'm assuming, Moreno Valley. 2 Shopify sites, needs to learn more about B2B fulfillment. This one we can probably best answer outside of this chat. Thomas, I will give you my email address. You can email me directly. I know how to hit the send button. Perfect, there we go. But please keep the questions coming. This one I think is just very specific for this audience, but Tom is happy to answer that. And then here's a question from Don, and maybe Nick, we'll start with you. So Don asks, how is the current market for launching CPG brands under $20? And maybe to add a little bit to that, Nick, how, maybe whether it be Judy or House or something else, what's most important for you when you think about launching a brand? Maybe regardless of industry or price point.
Yeah, I always work backwards from distribution. So like when I hear $20, the first thing I hear is is underwater customer acquisition. I always think that, there's a couple things you want to look for. So like I look for, one, is it a consumable or is it a one-time purchase? Because that dictates a lot around the pricing and also the distribution strategy, especially as far as it comes with acquiring customers. Secondly, what's the weight of the product? Because that also factors in. So if they buy something for $20, but it weighs 10 pounds, it might cost you $10 to ship it. Third is there a repeat purchase or reorder? And then fourth is like, what kind of function does it actually serve? Is it is it the fourth version of the stylus that's coming out that doesn't really have a value prop because there's already a company that did it? Is it the fourth version of men's skincare that's now coming to market? Like, does it really have a functional value prop? So those are the things I look for. And then I think like I definitely think, I mean, I'm in the process right now of launching a brand that their order value or their main product they sell, everything is $10. But they're doing something where you have to buy 3 items every time you want to check out. So automatically your order value is $30. It's also a high repeat purchase. So it's okay if you pay $50 for that customer up front, as long as they come back twice, you're somewhat in the green. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with launching anything for 20, so long as, I mean, Hint Water is $20 a case and they're doing, probably 60 million this year in revenue online. You just have to have either a good retention system built out to come get them back, or it should be a consumable where there is obvious repeat purchases.
Awesome. And talk us through, I think what's been interesting in seeing some of the brands that you're running or advising in is just adding kind of like a unique spin and paying attention to some of the details. Like with what you shared with the Tiger King link from Judy, even the hover tool, it's like a flashlight, which aligns so well to the brand. It's just like the little things that I think a lot of people don't think about. So with this example of that brand, you said you were getting ready to launch $10 an item. I hear the same thing. I'm like, all right, well, between marketing and fulfillment, you're going to be way underwater unless there's something in the longer term. How are you guys positioning the brand or maybe the checkout experience to force that 3-product purchase?
So you'll actually not be able to check out unless you have 3 products. Hopefully though, the sites, whether it's the PDPs or the slide out cart or the cart page itself, either upsells you to 2 more pairs of the product or like gets you into some kind of membership. But I think in that site specifically, it'll be a minimum of 3 products in the cart to purchase.
Okay, awesome. And then let's see. Okay, so Nick Cotter, you asked Kurt if you were doing the Insta ads. You've been seeing them everywhere, but you said that that's done by the KeySmart team.
Yeah, there's a gentleman, Andrew Bedell, who's worked there forever. We become friends. I went to Disney World with him right before everything got shut down. If you visit that site that I linked to the 2 products we were talking about earlier, and put those in the chat. If you visit that site, you will get hit with fantastic examples of remarketing ads. And when you see those ads, look at the comments, and you'll see there's a lot of like crazy comments in there. And I asked him, I said, why don't you take these out? Why do you leave them? He said, because it increases engagement. Facebook sees all the comments. That's engagement. He's like, it increases my reach and lowers my ad spend. So there's a quick ads tip for it.
No,
I like that. So
they're solid ads. I mean, I've seen a lot of companies that do try to pivot and add, face mask, and they're really intrusive, right? Like it's just like a mask, from a random brand that you've never even heard of. But like these are really well put together. I think it was on Instagram, yeah. But definitely check them out. I guess go to that website, you'll get retargeted, like Kurt was saying. But it's just really well done. I didn't go into the comments sections, but you're not gonna really imagine. But like I said, I was really curious. Really well.
And he told me several times before the formula for doing those ads. It's you write down, okay, what are 5 5 selling propositions. What are like the 5 bullet points that are in the product description, the benefits you should buy this. And then he's like, all right, just take those 5 and make a slideshow, an animated slideshow out of that with photos. Run that as a video ad, see what happens, and use that to like iterate quickly. Once you have like the 5 that work, well, that just became your storyboard. Then go make that into a video. Okay, now try like different edits and cuts of that video. And what you're going to get retargeted with is the end result work. But that's that formula, or that's the process they use that lets them iterate through and find winning ads very quickly.
I love that. That's something you can stand up really quickly without having to go through the whole video process. And then, you're obviously learning much more inexpensively. That's a great idea. Question here in the chat from Eunice. What barcodes is rather specific does ShipBob need on the product? They're doing FBA and would like to expand to Shopify. Is FNSKU okay? Eunice, again, here, I'll drop my email in here on these questions. I can answer those directly and provide you all the specifics you need. So please feel free to message me there. And then Mike, if you have anything to chime in as a customer as well, you might know best too. Here's a question from Evan over in the question section. I'm in the process of launching a new UV product that is relevant to the current COVID-19 situation. Production's finishing this week, and I need to decide between air and sea shipping. Shipping at sea is $800 USD, which is about, let's see, I don't look at that. And then air freight's around 6,000 USD. So obviously a big difference. I also don't know how many products or units that you're ordering. There's a 30-day difference in shipping times. What do you suggest? So I'll open that to this group here before I jump in. Any suggestions for those of you that manufacture overseas, and your suggestions for Evan here?
I mean, I would say if you're going to miss out on $5,200 of revenue, you should probably air it in.
Yeah. The other thing you could do is see if you can split it. So, I mean, sometimes I know air freight's tough right now, but sometimes if you only do a couple pallets air freight to get started, if that can get you, if that can meet your projections for a month, maybe you can get cute with it. But I would agree with Nick on that.
Love that idea. There we go. From Evan, 1,000 units. Okay, yeah, so $6 a unit to air it in, which isn't too bad. But yeah, that's a great idea too, is seeing if you could possibly split it. Here's a question that actually I get this all the time, and I'd actually love to open this up to all 3 of you guys. So Mike, Nick, and Kurt, if you guys want to chime in here. So this is from Michael. How do you balance free shipping tiers, or do you offer it at all? I feel like we can never compete with Amazon. What do you suggest?
This is so dependent on your margin, right? If you're manufacturing goods yourself, you have a much better margin. Generally, you're going to be able to offer free shipping and build it into the cost. When you're reselling other people's stuff, or like you have mixed carts where some of it's your stuff, some of it's other people's stuff you're reselling, this is where it gets harder. And that's where I would say try and set a free shipping threshold. I really believe free shipping is the expectation and the standard. And if you're doing anything less than that, it's going to work against you and be a disservice. But it just is not always practical for all brands. So generally, the way I would go about this, if you can't offer free shipping and everything, is look at it as a way to increase your average order value. So find your average order value, tack 10 to 20% onto that. That's your free shipping threshold. But then really over communicate it. And I think Chewy.com, the pet supply site, does a really good job of this. Under the add to cart button and in the cart, there is a progress bar that shows you how far you are away from free shipping. So when you over communicate it, then it's like, well, it's not that they don't offer free shipping. It's that you're just not spending enough, right? Like kind of shifts the onus of free shipping onto the consumer. But when it's well communicated and it's a reasonable threshold, say 25 or $50, those tend to be the standards. That works pretty well. But I would base it off your average order value and then make sure you have like some kind of dynamic messaging for it, like right by your cart subtotal that says, if it's $50 and I add $20, it goes, you're $30 away from free shipping. And then when I'm over the threshold, it also lets us over communicate it. You qualify, your order qualifies for free shipping.
Yeah, I was going to say we did the same progress bar. Probably started mid last year, and it's been helpful. There's obviously a lot that goes into it, especially for us. We have products at a lot of different price points, but since we launched it, our AOV has increased by about 15%. So I would attribute some of that 15% to to folks going for that free shipping. We're seeing a lot more orders shipping for free, which to your point, the margins can withstand it. And also we're shipping I think pretty inexpensively with the ShipBob network that it makes it a reasonable proposition for us.
That's awesome. I'm gonna pull up a screenshot of your guys' example there. I love this idea. This is one of the things I love about, well, one, why we're running this series, but just the innovation we're seeing from different brands. I'd say over the last couple of weeks in particular, just to be able to like steal and take ideas, from like the Judy example to the ads that you're seeing on Get Smart, Get Key Smart, to your stuff with TB12. So I'll drop that in. Nick, what about you? Where I know that you really go hard on like the brand side of it and using that to build, let's just call it like a movement or community. How do you view free shipping or fast shipping or a combination of both?
I mean, from a marketing point of view, I always try to get like the fastest shipping option and also free shipping. But one right now it's kind of halted the fast shipping, but with free shipping, I think the best example is when I was at Hint, we had, our goal was, it was actually wired backwards from our boxes. So our boxes, we could ship 1, 2, or 3 cases in different box sizes, but 3 was the max, and they would all go for the same cost. Let's say it goes for $10. So whether the person bought 1 case or 2 cases or 3 cases, it would cost us 10. Under 2 cases, we would charge the consumer 5. So we would basically eat 5. And over 3 cases, the margins on the product were good enough to where we would just cover the shipping for free. So that did 2 things. One, it raised the order value from about $15 to roughly like 48, and without touching the acquisition cost. Secondly, whenever we ran promotions, we did it in 3, 6, or 9 batches, or 3, 6, or 9 case batches. So like our Black Friday was 9 for $99, which was a total steal because it's $11 a case where it's normally $20. However, the margins were good enough to where the deal made sense and the volume was bigger. So that's my favorite example of shipping, is like looking at what are the actual COGS and the ways that it's packaged, and then working backwards from that.
That's a great example. And Nick, that nails with, so Thomas in the question section said, beverage shipping, challenges at 11 to 12 pounds per order. How many offerings should we use and how to customers? And so I was going to ask for a little bit of context on his question, but Nick, I think you nailed it both on how you handled shipping, how you handled bundles, and then how that impacted the marketing side as well.
Yeah, I mean, bundles are like such a no-brainer. I talk about it all the time. I just don't understand why more brands don't do bundles. But if you can do bundles, you're not only optimizing your shipping costs, you're getting more product in their hands so the whole household can try. They might have different flavors or scents or fragrances or types of products that they like. For us at Hint, it was great because we had still, we had sparkling, caffeinated, then we had 27 different flavors. So the bundling really allowed everybody to kind of find their flavor.
So speaking of bundles, because I completely agree, bundles and subscription. With coronavirus hitting and the zeitgeist shifting almost overnight to stockpiling or hoarding or preparation, have you seen a change in consumer behavior in receptiveness to bundles, or people basically creating their own bundles? And how's that played out over the last couple of weeks?
I haven't seen people interact with bundles in a negative way. I think, to Kurt's point earlier, there's definitely verticals that are like beauty or fragrance are not really seeing a crazy amount of sales. But then there are industries like whether it's protein powder or like Tushy is crushing it, Poopery is crushing it, like all these random different things that you probably just don't necessarily think of. When they run bundles, they're still killing it.
Mm-hmm. And here's a question from Shay, and maybe Kurt will tap you to provide some more examples of things you like. So from Shay, what are the most creative ways you've seen brands pivot or market during these times? So if you want to, again, pull up a handful of the other examples that you had teed up.
Oh, geez. I mean, that KeySmart's my go-to. I really like that one. Some of the others, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the product itself. It could also, it could be, if you donate to a charitable cause. So like extending out that KeySmart one, they said, hey, we're donating like X% to COVID-19 relief. We're donating PPE. You can request a donation. And oh, by the way, our CEO also donated his salary. Wow. Like that's put your money where your mouth is. I've got a client, Vex Latex. They sell high fashion fetish wear. It's latex clothing, but she designed for like Lady Gaga, Beyonce. And so on her site, what she started selling was like entirely non-functional latex masks, but an inexpensive item that was stylish that people could buy that represented the brand. And for every one, they made like a fixed donation to a COVID-19 relief fund. And that worked really well. We've seen people who they're like, all right, we're just going to sell our regular product, but it's like part of a concerted fundraising effort. Okay, that can work well. Yeah, I had more written down.
Well, Nick also mentioned, and Nick, Mike, you guys can throw out some more as well, but you mentioned Poopery. We've seen some of these bidet customers of ours just blow up.
Dude Wipes just launched another one called I think it's the Dude Wiper 1000.
Oh, I saw this yesterday. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they killed it with that launch.
That's awesome.
I own a bidet. I ran out of toilet paper, and now I'm like, I've become a bidet evangelist. I'm like telling everybody, I'm like, you get enough toilet paper. You could get a bidet, use way less.
So people sign up for there. Love it.
Doing something good for the environment over
there. And then speaking of the nonprofit and the charitable side, I know that's something we focused on at ShipBob. We launched the Giving Fund for our fulfillment center teams. And then Mike, that's something that was very important for you all at TB12. Can you just share a little bit about what you guys did on the charitable side and how you were able to bring that not into like even like necessarily marketing sales, but also into like your core business?
So we did a couple different things. On the e-com side, the biggest thing we did was we did a promo with an organization called Givz. It's GIVZ. I can put them in the chat. But basically, it was a kind of a classic spend get. But what you get is the ability to donate right on the Shopify order confirmation page to either a charity of your choice, or we selected 3 that we felt were needed right now as suggestions, really. And it ended up being a really good promotion for us that we did toward the end of March through like the middle of April, probably after the first 10 days, like most things, it starts to trail off a little bit, I think, in the effect. But super easy plugin. You can set a threshold for the spend get, and then they kind of manage the distribution of funds for you as well. So that was great because I think it was important to all of us as we were, seeing the events unfold. Also, in an extremely busy e-com business, we're still putting in the hours but hoping that, or I guess understanding that, the world needs some positivity and some love. So I think it was good for internal team morale as well that we were able to get something like that going pretty quickly. And then with our services business, where for those of you who don't know, TB12, kind of the core concept of the TB12 business is a body coach client in-person performance and recovery session. So like an hour-long body coach treatment session, essentially. And so for services, we obviously had to shift virtual for a period of time, and we started offering those immediately, free to kind of frontline healthcare and grocery and police workers, just to try to do something that hopefully for folks that it's probably super stressful. Want to make sure that there's immunity benefits to kind of everything that we do in terms of active lifestyle and some advice on nutrition and supplementation and those things. So we started offering those free, and they still are virtual sessions to talk with a body coach and talk about any physical or mental or anything else you have going on that we can potentially help with.
Nice, that's awesome. And I know a friend of mine, Ronnie, he runs a company called Shop and Gives. They're also in the Shopify App Store. They might be in BigCommerce App Store as well. They really make charitable giving really easy. They work with up and coming D2C brands to some of the biggest retailers out there. And then I know Paul, who chimed in here earlier, Paul Howdegee running BK Beauty. They've done a lot of good stuff as well. So if you guys want to just check out some other examples to get the creativity running. So everybody in the audience, all of our speakers, really appreciate your time. I have one last question for the group. I want to go one by one. It's really, what is like the number one piece of advice you give to brands, whether it be coronavirus right now or just running their brand in general? And so, Mike, we'll start with you. What's your number one piece of advice?
Number one piece of advice is, and I really believe this, I think that all businesses are people businesses, and at the core, like the people that are running the business are, and how well you're able to treat them or how well your business is going to do. That's my son has joined. So that's been a big thing for us as well over the last kind of 8 weeks. That's been that we've been working from home, is trying to maintain that community, figure out what we can do to make people's make people's time a little bit better as we're actually kind of we're working more than we were before, and with some additional stress factors. So that was probably my number one piece of advice.
I love that. I feel like this is my favorite question. I should just ask at the beginning, because the info we get at this time is the best. And everybody focuses on, I'd say more on the customer, but I love this, Mike, where it's focus on the business first. And then that's, because that's really where the brand starts. And then that's going to really be what spills out, to, your future end customers as well. Nick, we'll jump over to you. What's your number one piece of advice? And you're on mute.
I think be like hyper aware of what you say and how you say it, and then after that, just remember that like you're a brand. You're not responsible or obligated to go be, to go console somebody or make feel cozy all the time. Like, be a brand sometimes.
Love it, Kurt.
I think you need to address the number one concern of everyone who visits your website, which is, are you still shipping? Unless you explicitly state it, no one knows. So on your site, the announcement bar at the top of that site, that way it appears on every single page, should say, yes, we're still shipping. And then bonus points, I better be able to click on that announcement bar and get to a collection of in-stock products.
That's a great tip. That was one of the things that came up last week, where a lot of people were able to get really cheap clicks from their target audience, but people were dropping off a lot at the checkout point. And somebody from the audience threw out, well, have you put on your website that you're still shipping and that you still have inventory? Because that is a big question. I mean, I'm experiencing that with some of Amazon, and Amazon's, arguably the most well-run company in the world. I'm still waiting 60 days later to receive a product. So, but, let people know that you're shipping. So I'll run through those again real quick. One, all businesses are people businesses that treat people well. Hyper aware of what you say and how you say it, and then address the fact that you are still shipping. Getting back to the fundamentals, I like it. So again, everybody in the audience, I know you have a lot going on. I appreciate your time. Mike, Nick, Kurt, really appreciate you dropping some knowledge here. And then Nick Cotter over on the ShipOp team, thanks for facilitating this, making this happen. Every week we're here, Wednesdays, 3 o'clock Central Time. We made it a little bit earlier this week, or a little bit later this week. So again, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.